All right, soon it should kick off. Looks like it's coming together. Let's get that connection going, and we are live. We're live on camera 3. Change to camera 1. Dennis, we're live.
We are, and
Let's
welcome to a special edition of Digital CEO, Digital Marketing 101. But it's not for newbies.
Not for
It's
noobs.
for everyone. How many people do we know that have gone from nothing to $10 million, but they were just lucky because they knew Shopify, or they just knew Facebook ads, or they just knew email marketing, and they didn't understand how all these pieces fit together? Today, we're going to show you how it fits together. So if you're new to digital marketing, you especially need this. If you're experienced and you found success in one tool, but you don't understand the other areas and you want to grow, you need this. Today is where you make sense, getting an overall framework of how all these pieces fit together. So that way you can learn how to learn. There's so many different things that you can chase. How do you decide? We're going to cover 3 components today, and I can't wait to see your feedback.
So it's strategy made simple. There's no better diagram drawer or explainer out there than Dennis. So we even have today an iPad we're going to be feeding in, and we're going to be making all kinds of changes and drawings, and we want feedback from you guys too of how we can better display these. So let's just hop in and go for it.
And if you like what you got, click subscribe so you can see all the other awesome episodes and give us feedback and give us encouragement, because that's the stuff that I know I feed off of.
Let's do it.
The internet started with search. I was a search engineer at Yahoo 20 some years ago, and search was a way to make sense of the number of web pages that are out there. It used to be that there were only a couple dozen web pages on the entire internet.
Can you believe that? And now if you search like bananas, you end up with like 22 million results.
Yeah. Do a search on Google that tells you how many there are. You can do different kinds of operators in title or on a certain website. There's different things that go into SEO and how the search engines work, but I'm not going to go into that, because if you're new to digital or your experience, the odds are you don't understand some of these fundamental components. So search and web are actually the same thing. Why? Because search engines are directories. They're bringing you to a website. And you could say, well, I have my website and people will come to it. Well, how are you going to get people to your website? You usually get there through Google, and you got to make Google happy. So the more traffic there is out there, whether you're doing it on paid, meaning you are buying it through Google Ads, which used to be called Google AdWords, or it's organic, which is what most people call search engine optimization. You're getting traffic from the search engine. Could be videos, which is YouTube. It could be regular search. It could be local search. There's so many different flavors of search that Google called it universal search 7 or 8 years ago. There's search that's on your phone. There's search for news. There's search for things that load quickly. There's search inside YouTube for YouTube Shorts. But the point is that Google controls search, even search inside a website, right? Search boxes inside a website, that box, that's search.
Owned by Google?
Most of it's powered by Google.
Wow.
Yep. And search and web go together because you're trying to drive people to your website.
Of course.
And most people stay in the paid organic side, but they don't realize there's this whole other area called social. And the most powerful kind of social is Facebook, in the same way that Google's the dominant search player today.
Yeah.
But we also know there's other social networks, and some people, they specialize in TikTok, like Dr. Brandon Brown.
Yeah. He's amazing at TikTok. He just went live. He had over 1 million people visit his live, I believe it was, or 1 million
Holy
impressions
moly.
throughout the live. And then it stays like there's the data in TikTok now is just crazy how much he's driving, and all he talks about is migraines. One thing. That's one thing with this digital in general, is being the master of one thing versus the jack of all trades. This man has mastered one thing, migraines, and he literally has tens of thousands of people reviewing his content. The audience is out there, but because he's specialized so much, people are now coming to him versus him trying to make something that's going to be a good fit for everybody.
Social is great word of mouth. And a lot of people think of social as Instagram, where you're showing off your pretend lifestyle, or Twitter, where you're arguing about ridiculous sorts of things, or Facebook, where it's kind of who your friends are, and other versions of social networks. But think of social as people. and all the content is built around the people, but it starts with the people. Think about search as the website, and all the information is built around the website, and people are on the outside. So when we bring search and social together, we're bringing word of mouth and activity back over into where people are finding information. And when people are finding information and they like somebody, let's say someone wrote a really great article, you're going to look them up and see who they are, right? Maybe you want to friend them. Maybe you want to hit them up on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'd love to have a coffee with you.
Right.
Or 15 minutes, right? This is how search and social fit together, where you're building information, where you're trying to rank on Google search results. By the way, if you have a website, you need at least 100 pages on your website. If you don't have 100 pages, you don't have enough shots on goal. Your personal website, firstname, lastname.com, tristanparmley.com, dennis-u.com.
Got to get my sites up.
Yeah, you got to get that up, because when people are engaging here in social, you want to bring them over to your website, right? They want to see who you are. Maybe you're like Mary Henderson and you're fantastic on LinkedIn, and your posts get thousands of people that are engaging on them. But if you can't bring them to your website, where then you have a landing page and they can give you an email address, they can learn more, they can spend time with you instead of, think of social as being at the mall. At the mall, there's lots of people and friends are hanging out, and that's the best place to meet lots of people, at the mall or at the library or at the sporting event or playing volleyball, whatever it might be. But if you really want to zero in on a relationship, they got to come over to your house.
Yeah, of course. And in like 8th grade and middle school, it's like graduating, right? As you get older, like in middle school, a lot of people go to the malls to hang out with their friends, like at night, or they go to like the community center. And there's other events like that too, right? Like meetup, right? Before COVID is currently being recorded during COVID time, so we have no idea what day or time it is. We're just here.
Yeah.
And before then, there's meetup, and there's these other places where you go to an event for a specific group of people, or you go to a place where there's a lot of people, but there has to be a way to graduate to the next step. It's like going on a date, right? The idea for the first date is that there'll hopefully be a second, and you'll be so happy that there'll be a third, and you'll be so happy that there'll be a fourth and a fifth, and this idea that you have in your head of what you're looking for is fulfilled. And customers are doing the same thing, but us as marketers will flub it up because we try to make it about what we want. And could you imagine if you went on a date and somebody was like, nope, this is how I date, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is what you're going to order, and this is exactly how it's going to be? There's no way that you would stay in that relationship.
So think about building yourself as a human who's relatable, but at the same time demonstrating expertise. You're using social as a way for people to find out about you because of who your friends are, because of someone that's endorsing you, because of something that you've done that is interesting, which then causes them to want to spend more time. And you know, you're scrolling through Facebook and you see lots of things that are happening. What causes you to stop and visit somebody's website and check them out more?
Well, I mean, there's so much. For me, the first thing is the attention. Whatever the attention-getting thing is, it could be like the thumbnail of their video or the image, or if I know that person, then like Sean Dill, for example, I'm going to read everything that Sean says. I consider what he puts out there to be extremely valuable, so I'm always going to check it. And same thing for yourself. But I've got friends from home where if I see an update, I've got a friend who owns a business, and if I see an update of him working on wood, and I just see that picture, I'm automatically going to stop and say, well, what's Sam working on today? Because it's what's important to me. So the thing that's going to stop me is what's important to me.
Think of social as a movie trailer, and think of the website as the actual movie. And YouTube is weird because it is a social network, arguably the second largest social network, but it's actually more like a website because it's a destination where people are like, how long do you spend on YouTube when you're there?
The rabbit hole.
Let's be honest. You were there to look up this one thing, and then how long did you spend? 8 videos later?
You get lost. You get stuck.
A lot of people will say search is better than social because search is closer to where people are purchasing. Someone types in plumber, broken toilet. Well, of course they're looking for someone to come fix their broken toilet where poop is going everywhere and they need someone right now, right? Or someone types in massage therapist, Las Vegas. Well, they clearly have something wrong, or they're sore and achy from a long hike. They want to buy something right now. Or they type in Apple MacBook Pro, Costco price, right? They're looking and they're shopping. And so search, where it's directed, where someone has to type something in to make it happen. Imagine you go to Google and you just sit there at the search box. You just sit there. What happens?
Nothing.
But if you're on Facebook and you're scrolling, they're feeding you stuff. So one of them is push and one of them's pull. On Facebook, you're consuming things. You're scrolling through a feed. Twitter, Instagram, all these other guys are the social network pushing things to you based on what they think you like. So they think what do you like based on what your friends have done, based on you clicking on Donald Trump videos. Well, you're going to get more Donald Trump videos.
Of course. And so based on what you've drawn here too, and I'll pull it up for the audience, for paid and not for paid, but for search and social,
Yep.
what is bridging those two together other than the obvious awareness of going from meeting who Dr. Brown is or seeing who Dr. Brandon Brown is and then going and looking for him, right? That's what a lot of people would assume is happening. What's actually going on there?
There's no exact path of the user's relationship, but generally people are starting on social to find out because there's more time being spent on social than there is in the actual purchase research phase. So when people find out about you on social, top of the funnel, you're not even building relationships yet. Then when they come to your website, that's like someone coming over to your house to deepen that relationship. And when that happens, we go into the messaging channel. And messaging is text messaging, or they've given you an email address and you're messaging them there, or you have a phone number, or it's a chat bot. A lot of people think, oh, the latest thing is chatbots that you can build inside Instagram and LinkedIn. You can build these chatbots, which is against the terms of service, but some people do that.
Some people still do it.
And you may even say that on social, hey, the money's in the DMs. It's going down in the DMs. And we're able to go from LinkedIn into messaging or from a website into messaging. And this is where most people miss it. And if you're new to digital marketing, I'm glad you're here because you're not going to make that mistake that you see people that have been doing this a long time. It's hard to untrain bad habits. You've got to understand how all three of these fit together. I want you to think of this as like a three-legged stool. What leg is the most important?
All three. You can't have a stool without having all three legs.
Yeah. And so you need to have all three of these. So think about how search and social drive the community, drive initial conversation where you get someone's phone number, someone comments on your tweet saying, wow, that was really cool, bro. And a friend of that other person's friend notices that and says, oh, this Tristan Parmalee guy, he's hanging out with Sean Dill. Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, had some great advice for Tristan this morning. Well, I want to listen to that. I trust Steve Wozniak, who built the world's most profitable company. So
he seems to know what he's doing.
So clearly, I'm going to see if he's making a message for Tristan and did this whole 1-minute video, then Tristan's probably someone who's, I don't know what he's doing, but man, I think I'm going to go check that out. I'm going to watch some of his Instagram stories. So now we have messaging in here, and think about all the different ways that you can do messaging. You have direct mail, you have email, you have chat, you have text messaging campaigns, but understand that I'd even put groups in here. I know technically that's part of social media, but when people have given you permission to talk to them, that's the best way to think about messaging. And when people have built enough messages with you, enough conversation, then you can say, would you like to come check out my bedroom? Right? Instead of, hey, honey, what's your name?
Yeah.
I like your shoes, right?
Yeah. There's a logical sequence, right? There's a logical next step, just like dating, just in emotions as well. There's a logical sequence that people are going through. And a lot of times as marketers, we'll flub it up because our imagination of what we would like to happen versus what actually happens based on data and analytics gets crossed. It gets crossed and it gets mixed, and it's like we unplug one wire. If I were to just unplug this and just plug it into something else and expect it to go in, it's just not how the signals work. And by the way, Rishan's in here on our live on YouTube. Hello, Rishan.
Hey, Rishan.
I always like to say, especially for marketers, a live is alive. So if you ever want a shout out, always contribute to the live streams. Always hop on, add something of value for the audience, and then people will actually go to your channel afterwards too.
That's right. We're building relationships. And then when we as hosts see the same people show up multiple times, we notice that, right? Especially if those people are contributing value and they're sharing, they're bringing other people in, they're tying in other things that we've said. We notice that. And
of course,
that's how you can ask for favors. That's how you can ask that other person to be on your podcast, is contribute value first. When we have enough of these conversations and we've built community, now we can drive a sale. So you can see Russell Brunson say, hey, watch me make $1 million in 2 minutes. Yeah, well, you have a big email list and you have a company. So when you do that, all these other people are going to buy because they know who you are. But if they don't know who you are, then it really doesn't matter. You could do the exact same things that Russell Brunson does and not drive any revenue. You could say the exact same words that I say on Twitter or Facebook and not succeed. And people say, but I did exactly what they did. Why didn't that work?
Well, you have to have an audience. You have to have some sort of authority. You have to be able to have some sort of connection. Otherwise, I mean, imagine having 0 followers. You can post all day. Nobody's going to see it unless you pay for it.
That's right. So in today's episode, we're intentionally avoiding a lot of the jargon and acronyms because I want you to step away from the detail of, oh, wow, I found this really cool technique that works really well and this other person made all this money doing it. I'm going to try to do the exact same thing. No, it always goes back to the fundamentals. And Tristan and I are lucky enough to know people that have made a lot of money on the internet. And I can tell you, we all start from the fundamentals here. Understand how these pieces fit together. You cannot spend enough time making sure that you have the linkage together. Let's talk about how these pieces fit in a little bit more detail. When you come into Facebook, you have a profile, and maybe you have a business page, and maybe you have a public figure page, and you have a Twitter, and you have an Instagram, and you have, all WhatsApp and a Clubhouse and all these other pieces. And pretty soon you say, I've got too many things going on. And someone says, oh, you need a YouTube channel. You need to have a website. You need to do these other things with your website and install these other sorts of apps. And you need these analytics, and you need to put in a learning management system, and you need to put in email forms. And pretty soon you've got 15 or 20 different things going on. Am I right?
Yeah, pretty soon. And almost none of them are being actually used, or none of them are being invested in by you or your brand.
And then you hear somebody wisely, supposedly say, you know what you need to do? Instead of being a jack of all trades, trying to do 20 different things, you need to focus in on just one thing. Get really good at Google Ads, right?
Right.
Or, hey, you're selling handmade sorts of things. You need to get on Etsy and really master Etsy and get really good at Etsy and the ads on Etsy and everything about Etsy and build a community there. And that's not necessarily bad advice. But where people go wrong is they are at either extreme. They think, well, I need to try to do everything because, FOMO.
Right.
Or I need to really focus in on one particular channel. Both of those are incorrect. Here's why. You want to understand the relationship that you're driving with the people who buy from you. And because you want to have these different stages of the funnel, I want you to remap what you are doing into these 3 stages of awareness, consideration, and conversion. Think of this as the top, middle, and bottom of the funnel. Some people call it tofu, mofu, and bofu. Some people call it, we call it why, how, and what. And in local service businesses, story, service, sales, like Tristan talks about. Other people call it problem, reaction, solution. There's so many different ways of having a general awareness of who you are, stories, down to sharing expertise, which is how, down to buy my product, which is the what. Here's what I'm selling. Here's the price. Here's how it's better than these other guys. Here's a special offer if you buy by Friday, limited quantity, 50% off, that kind of thing. You have to stage people through each of those layers. And those layers happen to intersect between search, social, and messaging. I've seen a lot of people, they'll sign up for Infusionsoft or MailChimp or HubSpot or one of these really cool email marketing tools. Or maybe they buy a website tool like a Wix or a Squarespace, or they set up WordPress. There's all these different tools. We have Builderall, that's a great tool. And they get so focused on a particular tool that they forget, wait a minute, I have this tool that will let me send messages, but what if I have the most amazing email marketing engine that sends all these emails, that has all the best features and configuring the emails and split testing, has all the features, but I don't have an audience.
It won't matter.
I don't have any emails. I'm on Facebook, but I have no fans. I have no followers. I'm a total loser.
But don't call yourself a total loser. It takes time to build an audience and traffic. And that's why it's so good to be focused on a specialty more than a channel, because the thing that you do, the solution that you offer, the solution that your clients offer, if you're a marketer, as an entrepreneur, or if you're an entrepreneur within a company, like a marketer that works inside a chiropractic office, for example, there is a solution that you already have, which means there are people with that problem, and they're in all kinds of different places, and they're in all kinds of different channels. And that's why Dennis said you don't want to be on either side of the extreme, because then you limit yourself. And you think that, well, everyone uses Facebook, so I have to be the master of Facebook, and I have to put all this stuff out there, when really Google might do better.
So of all the different channels and the different tools and the things that you could chase with your limited time, how do you decide which tools and channels to focus on?
Well, there's so many. There's so many options. How
You
do
have to answer
decide?
this question. This is not a theoretical question. People waste time chasing all sorts of random things that could be amazing. The idea of the social amplification engine, which you can learn about in another episode, is let's take something that's good and make it bigger. Let's multiply whatever it is by 10. Let's say Tristan has a magic box right here, and anything I put in this magic box immediately gets 10 times bigger. So men, don't tell me what you would put in that box.
Oh, no.
What would you put in that box? Put a dollar bill in there. Pull it out, you get $10. That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. Put my business in there.
Yeah, 10 times bigger. Put in a gold coin, right? Put in an amazing Sony A7 R4 camera, and boom, out come 10 of them. I would love to have 10 of those, right? Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
what happens if I put in nothing?
Nothing happens.
Now, what happens with most entrepreneurs that are starting a business? They got nothing.
Nothing.
They have no
Starting
audience.
from zero.
They have no winners. And if anything, they're multiplying garbage.
Of course.
Now, Bill Gates talks about technology. I've had the pleasure of meeting him and some of his friends. And he said that technology is a multiplier. Let's break that down for a minute and how that fits into what we're talking about here. If you don't have a winner and you start pouring things in here and you multiply by 10, what are you going to get? Let's say you have something that's losing money, a campaign that's losing $1 a day, and you multiply it. What are you getting?
Well, 10 times 0 is 0.
No, you're losing $1 a day.
Oh, wow.
You're
Negative
multiplying
10.
that by 10. That's right. And let's say that you're wasting money on these other various tools. You're paying $300 for some kind of ClickFunnels. Nothing wrong with that tool. But now we're multiplying that by 10 because you're putting in more effort.
Now you're losing $20 because you
Yeah.
have two different channels doing $10.
Yeah. So what you're looking to do, because we're all business people, we are digital marketers and we have some kind of expertise, because you're not going to be a surgeon without the expertise of knowing how to do surgery. But we're business people. We have to make money. And if it's our business or we're working on someone else's business, we have to multiply the money that's being made out of this business. So this money here, I'm using green. I need to get more money. So if there's $2 signs, I want to have
At least 3.
$20 signs. I want
20.
as many dollar signs as I can down here. How do I get more of these dollar signs down here? I need to figure out what that path is. What is that path? And how do I make that signal stronger and stronger and stronger? So when you hear people say, find out what's working and master that particular channel, get really good at that one particular tool, the best way to interpret that is to say, what are the things that are driving traffic and conversion at any of the particular steps? Let's come back to this diagram. So there's things that drive awareness. It could be word of mouth. It could be you have a product that's so good that people are talking about it at Starbucks. So one of our friends has a product. It's Nature's Wild Berry, and you put this berry in your mouth and it changes the flavor of everything. It makes something sour taste sweet.
It is seriously incredible. We've tested it at workshops. We've tested it with multiple foods. Sometimes Dennis and I will just carry it around and try it with random things just to see how good it is. You've got to check it out.
And so you see stories of people that are doing this, and we've captured this. That's awareness, because they went to a conference and they saw it. They saw a friend doing it on Instagram and TikTok. Then consideration, how much is this berry? Can I really lose weight? Like all these other people are losing weight because instead of using sugar, they're taking the berry. They're eating their vegetables. They're having their coffee without sugar in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting healthier. And then conversion, where do I buy it? Well, I can go to natureswildberry.com and use the coupon code Tristan for 15% off, because we interviewed Hank, who's the founder of Nature's Wild Berry. And so we're going to trace this journey all the way through. So when we're going from awareness, which is people have seen your stuff, to consideration, that's the linkage here from awareness to consideration is called traffic, right?
You need some more room?
No, that's good. I can squeeze my way around here. Oh, isn't this really cool?
Yeah,
wow,
it is.
I am now fantastically pro.
The iPad will also, you can put your hand on it actually too.
Yeah. So I want to make sure you guys don't miss what I'm talking about here. To move from awareness to consideration is generating traffic. And to go from these conversations into conversion, that's the conversion rate. So we're constantly trying to move people all the way down. And I know the funnel is usually driven down, but the best way to think about it is it's actually walking up a down escalator. Because the idea of a funnel assumes gravity, just people naturally will come all the way down and buy. And all you have to do is just sit there and people will, it's just like a sieve or whatever, people will just naturally strain their way all the way down to the bottom. What happens if you're just standing there on a down escalator?
Oh, you're going to keep going down.
And what happens if you want to go up to the top of a down escalator? I did this in middle school all the time.
You've got to run. I love that. I love doing that. I still do. I'm like a child. We're in the airport and I'll do that.
Yeah. So you're trying to get people to buy. You have to create more momentum to get people to be able to buy from you, to move through these different stages. Focus on where you are generating the most traffic and generating the most conversion. It may be that, and by the way, look at real data. This is where analytics comes in. You don't do analytics for the sake of it. You're not going into TikTok because Gary Vaynerchuk said you need to be there. You're looking at where your actual traffic and conversion is. So if you find that Facebook is what's driving you actual traffic that drives to messages where people are buying and they're coming to their shopping cart, take the thing that's doing well and let's make it bigger. So literally come here and let's make it bigger and bigger. Let's take this thing and add more to it. And when we do, we're stacking more dollar bills, y'all.
Dollar bills.
That's right. I work so hard, I don't get tired. I got six jobs. That's right. I got $6 bills.
Never thought I'd see the day that Dennis would be quoting rappers, but I've now officially turned him into a rap music fan.
That's right. Cruising down the street, smoking endo, sipping on gin and juice, laid back.
All right.
My mind on my money and my money on my digital marketing fundamentals 101. I want you guys to think about how all these pieces fit together. You need to be able to have expertise in whatever area is generating real, measurable, current traffic and conversion for your business or for your client's business.
But Dennis, what if I just started, or what if my client just started? If I'm an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur and they've never done anything in digital before, maybe the business is established, but the digital presence is zero. No Facebook, no Instagram, no YouTube, not even a website or Google listing, but business exists. What do I do?
You don't. Because what happens? What we have here is this amazing machine, which is what you're learning here at Digital CEO and the Cairo Revenue YouTube channel, is taking something and multiplying it by 10. So what if you have 0 and multiply by 10? Do you really want to do that?
No.
And the people that don't have, and you ask a great question, the people that don't have any traffic and aren't really making money, those people are called wantrepreneurs. They expect the most, they pay the least, they're the hardest to deal with. They will drive you out of business. If you're an agency, if you're an employee, they'll say like, wow, we could be this big and make millions of dollars. We're going to start a new social network, Tristan, right? We could have 1 billion people on it because look, Facebook made $100 billion.
Of course.
Actually, Facebook made $1.3 trillion. That's what their market cap is. And what if we did only 1% as good as Facebook? Don't you think we could do 1% as good as them? We only need to get 1% as many users. And instead of 1.3 trillion, we take 1% of that, and that's $13 billion. I mean, I'd be happy with $13 billion.
I think I could do a lot with $13 billion.
See, that's a entrepreneur dream kind of thing. That's called top-down analysis. What we're looking at is taking something that is working measurably in their Google Analytics, in their Shopify, in their point of sale, in something that has some kind of digital anchor and signal, and we're going to multiply that by 10.
And so this is relative to digital marketing, digital CEO, point being digital. If something isn't established yet, 0 business presence, meaning, oh, it's my first year in business as well, this office doesn't exist, or this startup doesn't exist, and neither of these other assets, then there is no digital CEO because there's not even a regular CEO, if that makes sense. There's not an in-house, right, CEO for this brick and mortar or for this other business that you might be coming into as an agency, as an entrepreneur, or you might be getting hired into as an entrepreneur. And oftentimes people would just get hired in, figure it out, do some marketing. If we do this thing, it's going to totally make us money, right? If we post on Facebook 8,000 times a day, which Dennis has debunked in this video already. So I think that's important because a lot of people will try to argue and say, yeah, but I'm a startup or I've just got started. And the point is, you cannot amplify or multiply zero. You will always end up with zero. So you have to be able to set the metrics up to be able to track and see what's going to happen.
And so before you ever start any kind of engagement or any kind of campaign, you've got to measure. Before the surgeon operates, we've got to take an x-ray and take the blood. Now let's look at this example. We go into our analytics, our Google Analytics, our Facebook Analytics, whatever's working, and we immediately kill all the things that aren't working, which is the majority of all of them, and figure out what is working. This one's working, this is working, and this is working, right? And when that's the case, I'm going to multiply, I'm going to focus in. Let's say that Twitter is working really well organically. I want to multiply that. So I'm going to run Twitter ads against those posts. I'm going to figure out the combination of content and targeting. Like, what is it that causes people to purchase and resonate with that particular client or business? Whatever's working for that business already, I'll say, let me take that and I'm going to copy it over into Facebook and see if that same content will work. I'll take something that's resonating on Reddit and I'm going to copy it over into YouTube or a blog post. I'm going to take something that's working on YouTube and I'm going to make a Facebook version of it because it's already been tested. It's like cheating. It's like being able to go into the future in a time machine and see what the score is, right?
And then place your bet.
One of my favorite reasons for traveling internationally is that besides like we get first class, flights and hotels, we get treated really well and get to go to new countries where they're paying for the vacation. But besides that is they invite us over, like Brazil. I'm a mini celebrity for some reason in Brazil. And I'll teach about the latest in digital marketing there in front of these huge audiences, like stadiums sometimes. I'm like, wow, I'm just like some guy. Like, that's cool. And I'm talking about what's going on now in the United States, but because they're 3 to 5 years behind, we are fortune tellers. And they see us as bringing the latest and greatest.
Wow.
Now imagine that you could do this all the time. Just like Back to the Future. You knew what the score was to tomorrow's football game. You knew what the stock market was going to do. That's what we're doing here. Why? Because we're taking something that's working. It's working on YouTube. Something is trending. Something is driving sales. And we're going to copy it over into email. We're going to create something that's similar. We're going to keep duplicating with small adjustments. So if there's one video that's working really well on YouTube, let's learn why that's working and let's make other videos. Let's keep making better variations. There's a certain keyword that's ranking on Google for us. Let's figure out other derivative topics that are very similar to that for that same audience that they might resonate with too. Let's collect their email address so we can tell them about other things that are related to that topic. And that actually helps us niche down. The paradox is that in order to be able to grow and specialize down, we have to go outward and expand that existing audience, expand to other sources. If we find that this cool viral video is working on TikTok, or we have ads that are working on TikTok, why wouldn't I copy that to Instagram? Why wouldn't I go to Facebook stories? Why wouldn't I take that same creative and just literally copy it over into YouTube? Why wouldn't I paste that into a blog post so it can rank on Google? You see how this is a multiplier? So the idea of 10X isn't a Grant Cardone thing. It is key to this digital marketing 101 fundamentals of how search, social, and messaging all fit together. My friends, if you understand this, think about how easy it is for you to figure out what you need to focus on, how you can optimize where the winners are, multiply those winners, make more money, and then come back and tell us how awesome that was.
Wow. What a like value bomb to be able to break it down into those three things. And if you're just now coming into our live stream, because we are streaming these live, then now would be the best time to scroll backwards and scrub and pick out the best snippets, put them in the comments, like the best one-liners, the things that you heard. We had a couple questions in here too about things being a good analogy. Focus on the money-making tasks is a comment we had from Abdul. And yeah, that's amplifying what's working, right? The idea of 10xing anything is take whatever you want to do, whatever's working, and multiply it by 10. And I think you made that as simple as possible. So what would digital marketing 102 be? What can we expect at the next level of this kind of training?
Analytics. How do you look at the data and figure out what to do with it? Because this step here is understanding the fundamentals so you know generally where to look. But once you know where it is, what do you do with that? That's what we're going to cover in another episode on analytics. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode like we did, click subscribe, leave us your comments, show us some love, because we're coming back. Even if you're watching this a year after it originally aired, we're still watching the comments. We still love to see what you guys are thinking, because we're going to make more content based on what you tell us you like.
Exactly. And if you're coming a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, the same timeless principles are still going to apply with search, social, and messenger. There might be a little bit more. There might be somebody who has the hot hand like a TikTok does in 2020, but it's all going to be the same. And now you have the power to use it for the businesses you're working on, the businesses that you're working in, and the businesses that you're working for to make a bigger impact in the digital landscape. This has been an awesome episode of Digital CEO. Dennis, thank you so much for filling it with value again and again and again. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Cool.
All right, good.
35 minutes.